Autoglim always do that. You know, we'd never let you down on the weather. Although we've just been at Salon Privé in London for 3 days, and every time we finished cleaning the cars, down came the rain again.
Well, it's not going to happen today, but thanks again for your support and thanks for talking to us.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you for inviting us. It's great to be here.
Next race of the day is the post-historic touring cars. These are cars that were marketed before the 1st of January 1974. Got a fantastic mix of cars here this weekend. You can see the front row pair of lovely Escort Mark 1s. The reigning champion Steve Primmett's there. Alongside him we've got Jason Christie. They're going to be fighting it out for sure as the 15-minute race unfolds. We've got a Ford Capri back there on row 3. That's Neil Bray, multiple class champion. Never mind Tony Crutchington in this car. What about Tony Crunchington? We've got a bit of damage on the front. Let's get in and get the story from Tony. I've just misnamed you, Tony Crunchington, but I gather it wasn't actually you that caused the problem here.
No, I lent the car to Mark Lucock, and in practice this morning he managed to wipe it down the barrier, but it should be all right for the race. Hope so.
It's Steve Primmett, the man in the number 1 Mark 1 Escort, that takes pole position then alongside Jason Christie, and they'll start in front of Tony Crutchington with that damage, and Len Allgood in the blue Mark 1 Escort. Next up, the red Capri of Neil Bray alongside Mark Astrup in his Escort. 2 mighty Chevrolet Camaros start from row 5 and 6 in the hands of Alan Wayman and Chris Bright respectively. The very rare Simca 1000 Rally 2 of Daniel Burrows will start on row 9, and a man to watch out for at the very back of the field is the championship leader coming into this round, James Christie, who didn't have a good qualifying session. He starts at the back of the field in the Hillman Avenger.
So we should have 23 cars lining up on the grid then for this race. Again, it will be run over a distance of 15 minutes as the crowd look on in anticipation of what should be a very good race. Steve Primmett it is then lining up on pole position for this one in his number 1 car, and he's the reigning champion from last year, but he's not the championship leader this year. As Johnny mentioned, that honour goes to James Christie so far. James competing in Class D, that's the 1301 up to 1600cc class. Stephen Primmett in Class C, where the drivers have tended to take wins off each other a little bit more. Jason Christie has also had a win, as has Tony Crutchington within that class. So Stephen Primmett, although he leads Class C, does not have maximum points. Anyway, 5-second board is now raised, so we're getting close to the start of this race. Red lights will go on very shortly. There they go, first red light goes on. Oh, and already some creeping there from the second row of the grid. That's from Len Allgood. He's still going, isn't he? He comes to a stop now, and just as the red lights go out, so it's not a great start from here in actual fact. A good start then from the pole position man, and that is Stephen Primmett then that leads the way. Oh no, it's not in actual fact, it's Jason Christie that's got the best of the starts, hasn't it? So Christie leads, I think Primmett in second place as they make their way around the first couple of corners. This is James Christie then. He started 22nd on the grid. He's already got up with Chris Bright's Chevrolet Camaro here, and that car started on row 6 of the grid, as Johnny mentioned. So progress already made here by James Christie, our overall championship leader, up behind one of the Triumphs there as well. But here they come then, up the hill towards North Bend. It's the number 2 car in the lead, Jason Christie ahead of Steve Primmett.
Cracking start then for James Christie. He's one to watch in the orange Hillman Avenger. There you can see him on the inside of a couple of cars there, 3 abreast around North Bend on this opening lap, and it's still 2 abreast for the lead and for 3rd and 4th positions, and that is Neil Bray going underneath the black Triumph at the Dolomite Sprint of Mark Osborne, who's been fast starting himself from row 4. Was 3rd for a time, now down to 4th position, but having a good scrap with that early version of the Ford Capri, the only one in the race there for Neil Bray. Beautiful car, and in 3rd position, number 76, but the Dolomite Sprint of Mark Osborne still very much with him. It's the Steve Primmett Mark 1 Escort though that leads the way, heading into Devil's Elbow on this second circuit of Lydden Hill. This 15-minute race then unfolding rather nicely. Jason Christie, after that great start, down in second place. Neil Bray defensive into North Bend, trying to keep the Dolomite behind him, and he just about manages it coming out the other side there. And in 5th position, it's the Tony Crutchington Dolomite himself. Of course, that's the car he's to pick out with the front end damage.
Yep, so the 2 Triumphs there in 4th and 5th positions. Then in 6th place, it's Al Wayman in the yellow Chevrolet Camaro, the ex-Race of Champions car. Round the right-hander they will go then at Cheshunt's Drift and on to the back straight down towards the left-hander at Devil's Elbow at this revamped Lydden Hill circuit, now under the ownership of Pat Duran, and the Duran family having taken over the running of the circuit. Certainly it's looking very much smarter than last time we'll have seen it. Here's a good fight. It's the 69 car involved there. That's Mark Haystrup and also Len Allgood, who after he made that creepy start dropped back down the order a little bit, so he did not get away particularly well. He's now fighting back. He's got ahead of Alan Wayman. There you can see Les Nash as well in the number 71 car. We saw him out in the race for the older cars, the pre-66 cars earlier on. Well, he's taking on the slightly more modern machinery here and getting the better of Alan Wayman as they make their way through Paddock Bend.
And that could well be Tony Crates as well, just tucked in behind the yellow Camaro. The Cortina Mark II of Tony Crates going reasonably well, and having a little bit of a think up the inside there at Pilgrims to try and make a move. Of course, the Camaro will be very rapid on the straights, but not so good around the corners, and there are many of them here at Lydden Hill, so things even themselves out rather nicely between those two machines. There's Les Nash again in the purple Cortina, the Lotus Cortina, and an update on James Christie. The number 3 orange Hillman Avenger is slowly working his way through the order. A Mini is the next man on the list. That's possibly Keith Culver in the Mini Clubman 1275 GT version. So heading down the hill, he's also not too far away from Tony Crates as well in that Cortina and the Camaro of Alan Wayman. So a number of cars that he might be able to pick off in a couple of corners. Seesawing away there at the wheel of the car though. Some great onboard footage of the car getting through Paddock Bend, a little bit sideways, but he is heading through the field at a nice pace here and could be within the top 10 reasonably shortly.
Yeah, he's in 12th place at the moment, I reckon, so not too much further for him to go. As you've said, he's got the Keith Calver car there immediately ahead of him, and not too far up the road you can see Alan Wayman's machine, which has dropped down a few places. It was running in 6th earlier on, and a possible place change there as well. That's the number 12 car of Tony Crates, as you mentioned, in the Lotus Cortina, the Mark II version of that car, trying to find a way through. But down the straight you can see Wayman able to pull away, as you mentioned. On board with Christie we go again. He looks like he's got the better of the Mini Clubman here, and he has made it through, has he? Although the Mini trying to go all the way around the outside. Oh, and there's almost side-to-side contact between the two of them. I think it was just about avoided. That's Keith Calver in the Mini, of course, making their way through Pilgrims and into Cheshunt's now. It looks like Christie has made it through as they turn their way through the right-hander. Yes, he has. So James Christie, the championship leader, the man from Class D, which is for cars 1301 to 1600cc, goes up a place. 7 classes in this championship, by the way, ranging from Class A, which is for the 4 litre and above cars, although there's none of those here this weekend other than Alan Wayman's car, and down to Class F for the up to 1 litre cars, and also Class G, which is the invitation class, which sees, for example, this weekend Chris Bright in his white Camaro taking part.
A big sideways moment there for Tony Crates coming out of North Bend and down Hairy Hill, and James Christie wasn't going to be asked twice there to take another place in the Hillman Avenger. Seesawing again away at the wheel there to get the car through the final corner of the lap, Paddock Bend, and then across the start-finish line, and already he's setting his sights there on the Alan Wayman Chevy Camaro, the IROC-Z to give it its full serial number. And as you can see, the Hillman Avenger starting to home in. Back to this 3rd, 4th and 5th place battle, and as you can see, Mark Osborne is now back in front in the black Dolomite Sprint, so he's ahead of the red Ford Capri of Neil Bray, and still watching it all unfold in front of him is Tony Crudgington, staying pretty static in 5th position, and heading up now to the left-hander at Devil's Elbow. Very, very close fight this, and as a result, Jason Christie in 2nd place and Steve Primmett in 1st have stepped away from this battle somewhat.
Yep, up to the hairpin goes this battle for 3rd place though. 3-way fight, looking very good indeed. Oh, and a bit more of a nudge there. That's between Tony Crudgington and the Neil Bray car, the multiple class winning Capri, as Richard Neal was mentioning before the start of this race. Round Paddock Bend they go then. Len Allgood there in 6th place is beginning to close in on these two, but as you say, Johnny, the top 2, Steve Primmett and Jason Christie, have pulled away somewhat now and left this battle to its own devices. Mark Osborne there, who's 3rd in the championship then, coming into this round, heading down to Devil's Elbow, the halfway mark of this 1 mile lap around Lydden Hill, down near Canterbury in the southeast of England, and many drivers come from the southeast, although Mark Osborne is not one of those. He's from Borthwick, Wales, in the heart of rallying country in Wales. He's had one of the more arduous journeys to get here for this weekend, and now it is a four-way battle for third place because Len Allgood is closing in, and there's some lappery about to be started as well. I think that's the Simca of Daniel Burrows just to the front of the cars, as Les Nash meanwhile leads another batch of them into the hairpin.
Yeah, some slow traffic for both Les Nash and James Christie to deal with, but Christie, as you can see, is now in front of Alan Wayman, the man he was starting to close in on the last time we caught a glimpse of James. A bit further down the order this, of course, but he's getting further and further towards that top six. We have got Les Nash, as you can see, just in front of him. So the 71 car that we saw out in the action, the earlier race, for the slightly older cars, as Ian was mentioning earlier on, but still enjoying an extra bit of racing this weekend in the Lotus Cortina, and problems there for fifth place man, but no longer fifth place, Tony Crutchington. The Dolomite is struggling towards Devil's Elbow. The Triumph Dolomite looks like it's going to go no further, but that is not a place to park it up, right on the apex of the left-hander at Devil's Elbow, and cars that are going to be coming along that section of track will need to be wary, as looking very racy here is Peter Holton in the Rover P6.
And that's the number 50 car. So the demise of Tony Crutchington promotes, for example, Les Nash, I think, into 7th place now, and James Christie therefore into 8th position. As we watch our race leader climb the hill, and you can see what we're saying, he really has pulled away. That's the 2nd place car of Jason Christie. Just behind him, Jason Christie, who won around at Silverstone, and a big close moment there, and that's cost some ground for Neil Bray. As going through there is Len Allgood as they climb up the hill and back down it again. That's allowed Mark Osborne to make his escape as they come back down into the right-hander at paddock.
Yeah, crucial mistake there for the smart-looking Capri. It ran the risk there of not looking quite as smart, bumping and boring over the grass, and there's been big problems for Peter Holton. I mentioned he was looking pretty racy a short time ago, but he's dumped it in the gravel in that 3.5 litre Rover P6. Not going to get out of there very quickly, and the marshal makes sure that the driver is safely out of the machine. Now this is once again on board with James Christie, who is still on the tail of Les Nash, who cocks up on the curb there quite violently. That will slow him down as he heads up the hill, up Hairy Hill, and they go either side of a back marker there, which is tight stuff. Here comes James Christie on the inside at North Bend, diving through, does he? Yes, just about gets the place from Les Nash. So back down the hill comes the Hillman Avenger in the hands of James Christie, who's driven a storming race from the back of the grid. Oh, he's been hit from somebody behind there into Paddock Bend. Oh, and another big biff there, and that is from Les Nash. So I wonder whether the initial contact came from the number 71 car, the Cortina, heavily reshaped on that front left corner, as you can see, as is the Hillman Avenger as well. Two cars stuck in the middle of the track, and as you can see, the red flags come out in the background because of those two cars stuck on the very last corner of this lap. What a shame for James Christie after that charge through from the rear of the field. It looks like he's not even going to be classified.
Well, he won't be because he wasn't running at the time of the red flag, but strangely enough, Les Nash is in the results in 7th position. The winner though was Steve Primmett, and Jason Christie in 2nd place ahead of Mark Osborne, Len Allgood, and Neil Bray dropping back to 5th place after that mistake. Mark Haystruck completing the top 6. Looking further back, you can see the likes of Mark Apps. He was in 11th place in an invitation class car ahead of Bob Kett, Andy Gill, Cliff Ryan, who we saw being lapped a few moments ago, Daniel Burrows in that wonderfully turned out Simca, and Richard Langfeld, a leading light in the Classic Touring Car Racing Club, brings up the rear.
That's the end of our first show from Lydden Hill, the Autoglim Classic Festival. Join us next time for more classic action.